A very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us on K24 Newscut. As usual, we've got you covered with the latest updates from across the country. Without further ado, here are the highlights. County governors vow to protect devolution as they raise the red flag over what they say are efforts to undermine devolution. Over 5,000 people have been displaced by the rising levels of Lake Naivasha, with fears that the numbers could rise in the coming days.
K24 area today is under distress. We are talking about around 20,000 people being affected by the waters.
Raisi wetu tunaumia sana, tuko kwa machi na watoto. Imagine mali tunakaa choo imejaa, hatuna mbele wala nyuma.
Burial plans kick off for boda boda operator shot dead during the Kiganjo village skirmishes in Kiambu County following the arrest and arraignment of Gatundu South MP Gabriel Kagombe. Well, it's good to have you on the broadcast. My name is Harriet Chimea and our sign language interpreter is Walter Asera. Now, over 5,000 people have been displaced by the rising levels of Lake Naivasha, with fears that the numbers could rise in the coming days. The most affected is K24, which borders the lake with tens of boreholes and latrines flooded, raising fears of a disease outbreak in the estate that is home to tens of flower farm workers. The tens of wild animals, including buffaloes and hippos, have also been adversely affected after pasture land around the riparian was flooded, pushing them to nearby farms in search of pastures. Already one person has drowned in the estate after falling into one of the flooded boreholes, as residents called on the government to come to their rescue. According to Lakeview MCA Alex Mbugwa, the situation was getting worse by the day as the number of those affected continued to rise with no support from the national government.
Distress. We are talking about around 20,000 people being affected by the waters, yet no any redress is being addressed here. So mine is to ask the national government to come in and intervene. The president had given some ultimatum when it came to Mathare area some time ago, and he said that people will be displaced and given some amount to relocate to other areas. These people have not been given anything, and no one is addressing their issues.
Watu hawa unaona hapa, hata hii samaki wanavua hapa, yote ni contaminated na hii uchafu yote ya choo hapa. So maji yamejaa kwa choo, maji yameingia yamekusanyika na maji ya ziwa. Hiyo ni hatari ya nyati hapa kutokea, viboko. Sasa magonjwa yametukondolea macho.
Raisi wetu tunaumia sana, tuko kwa machi na watoto. Imagine mali tunakaa choo imejaa, hatuna mbele wala nyuma. Na mkianza kutoa hapa mamili watu wamekufa hapa district itajaa. Hamna mahali pa kuweka.
Sasa management, Gavana Susan Keheka, mkuu na MCA na viongozi wengine, mko wapi? Sijui ni mnataka mpigio simu au ndena mnagani ndio muweze kuwasikiza wakaaji wa hapa K24.
The family of David Ndwati, a 26-year-old boda boda operator, was shot during Kiganjo village skirmishes in Thika, Kiambu County, the family has finally agreed to bury him following the arrest and arraignment of Gatundu South MP Gabriel Kagombe. The family has been hell-bent that Ndwati will not be buried until the government commits to administering justice by arresting the culprits behind his brutal killing. Kagombe was on Monday arraigned at the Machakos High Court for the offense of murder, contrary to Section 203 as read with Section 204 of the Penal Code. He is currently detained at the Muthaiga police station pending a mental assessment test before he takes plea on the 7th of June. A section of stakeholders in the banking and microfinance sector are opposing some of the provisions in the Finance Bill 2024. The leaders argue that the bill will impose an excessive tax burden to the already burdened and strained economy. Speaking in Nairobi, Springboard Capital Limited CEO Benson Ngari threw shades at the bill, asking the business community to unite and present their views on the bill.
the last lot, wherever. But that stopped, and they don't know it stopped. So to them, if Maungu has been to Kabarak and he has been funded by the public, I can as well go there and still be funded by public.
I think that is the issue of publicity.
Well, apologies for that, but that is an update on the National Assembly Committee on Education, which is currently meeting with the Principal Secretary for Higher Education on the new university education admission and funding model. The government has defended the new university funding model, which came into effect this financial year, even as students oppose it for what they say is making varsity education inaccessible to many. Let's listen in.
Aware that when you click Mount Kenya, you click private, does it show the difference and the consequences of going either side of the public and private? That's something that you come out clearly, so that if not, then you need to come before this committee and show how you've done the changes, so that it makes it difficult for the student when he's applying. He knows that if I go this side, the consequences are there are no payment. There's no payment.
Chair,
yes.
Just on the same.
Yes, and then
these students who are placed in private universities, when now we decided that they should not be placed in private universities, the ministry just stopped paying for them the loans and the help, and they are really struggling. And some of those private universities, some are almost closing down because they are owed huge sums of money.
You're out of order.
Okay, put me in order.
We are out of order.
Okay.
We are not talking about. We are not about to fund private students in public. We are not about to fund students who are in private universities. No, it was this committee that made the decision.
Yeah,
please.
Well, no, what I'm saying is there are second-year students and third-year students who are supposed to be funded.
Yes.
In those private, but they stopped funding.
They are funding. I think we had a budget here of 1.something billion shillings for the continuing students. Madam.
Yes, I can confirm that, Honorable Chair.
Yes. How much you are funding them to a tune of?
1.7 billion.
1.7 billion. So that issue is not. Let's clear it. Our time is up, members.
Yeah,
yes.
Maybe, Chair. Mine would be that now that Madam CEO has confirmed that we have 18 students who are in private, 18,000, and Chair, that's not a small number. She alluded to it being a very small number. Having in mind that KISS University, we had about 8,500, a whole university having one, is it? So 18,000 is not a small number. Maybe we'll appreciate, Madam Chair, if we have a breakdown of those private universities and their beneficiaries, because there's word out here that business is also taking place, that we are out giving students to private universities so that they can also make their business. So let's see, Madam Chair, which of these universities are beneficiaries of these students, 18,000.
I think I directed that.
A cluster-wise will be same.
Yes.
Secondly, Chair, and maybe this will seek your indulgence, it's already 1 o'clock.
Yes, yes.
And we have a lot of questions to ask. Do you think it is important that we reschedule a meeting so that we can still have a session with this department another time?
I know we have a lot with the department, but there are certain questions which are very, I know, Madam PS, you can answer them, but I know I'll make a decision on when to reschedule, because this afternoon we are resuming, and there is a lot of business before the House, and I know we can't reschedule for this afternoon. We'll give a date.
Well, be sure to get a detailed update on those proceedings later on. Now, the Finance and Planning Committee is today meeting with Kenya Bankers Association, Okwa Uchumi, Haki Yetu, among other organizations, for the ongoing public participation processes of the Finance Bill 2024. The bill, which is currently being taken through the rigorous process, proposes a 16% VAT increase on transactions. Let's listen in.
The environment does not suffer from their goods. The other proposal that we have relates to the replacement of digital service tax with significant economic presence tax. This essentially, the two of them essentially operate in the same way, in that they subscribe a tax on non-residents who are performing or providing services through a digital marketplace. The current proposal in the finance bill as is will see a significant jump of the tax rate from 1.5% to 6% effectively, and our ask would be to reduce this probably to maybe 3%, which would still be doubling the tax, but it would be better than taking it to 6%, which is 4 times what is currently there. That will help people transacting in Kenya through, and also encourage digital service provision in the country. The other proposal that we have on page 15 of my presentation is the bill is proposing to subject all withholding tax payments made to resident persons, regardless of the value of the amount payable. What we have currently is that any amounts below 24,000 aggregate per month are exempted from withholding tax. So the bill is proposing to delete the provision that allows that. And that would mean that any transaction, regardless of the value, would be subject to withholding tax. And our justification for the proposal for this clause or this proposal to be dropped would be that, one, there would be significant...
Now, the Council of Governors is raising a red flag over a fresh plot to return the health function to the national government through a calculated smear campaign, painting the devolved units as inept. Consequently, the COG is accusing the national government of denying them their equitable share, now crossing the 100 billion shillings mark a few days of the end of the 2023-2024 financial year. As it stands now, counties have not received the equitable share from the national government for 3 months, including June, yet the FMS system reportedly slows down from mid-June.
The Council of Governors and the counties have done very well as far as that is concerned, and we cannot be measured by just this one fact of deaths to the KEMSA, which is necessitated by a delay of disbursement. On the other hand, the national government had promised to give monies or capitalize KEMSA to the tune of 2 billion. And that was about 6 months ago. That money was taken off the budget that was supposed to be for MES equipments. To date, KEMSA has not received that money. And therefore, even KEMSA itself is struggling. So even when you look at the 3 billion that is said to be owed by the Council of Governors or the counties, let the national government also give the KEMSA the 2 billion so that it will be able to meet the order defer rates that is supposed to be over 70% to ensure that counties have everything that they order from KEMSA. At the moment, it's not everything that they order from KEMSA that is available. And therefore, counties could be having debt also for other entities outside beyond KEMSA that are supplying drugs, or they may have even have paid them. And therefore, it is not only KEMSA that is a source of drugs.
Now, leaders drawn from Kajiado County have called out lobby groups opposed to the transfer of Amboseli National Park to the county management, saying the calls are ill-motivated and pegged on unfounded assumptions, a challenge they say is delaying the handover process. Gertrude Brigay has more.
Last year, President William Ruto announced the transfer of the Jumbo-dominated park to the management of the county government of Kajiado in what he said is to empower the Maasai community for their commitment to coexisting with wildlife. A task force to evaluate and oversee the process of transferring the park has since been formed to oversee public participation and engage key stakeholders, including Kenya Wildlife Service, to evaluate on the best practices that will enable the transfer. This has seen the local community living within Amboseli ecosystem surrender 1 million acre of land to expand the 80,000 park.
Kuna wale civil servants wenye wameamua kutumia pesa ya serikali kukoroga kazi ya serikali. And niliwaambia, there are those of them who are extremely reckless, extremely restless. Na unajua, kitakuja kuwaramba.
Uncertainty over the long period the process has taken has since been a thorn in the flesh among the local leaders who have since vowed to seek the president audience for further reassurance.
Kuna watu wamepewa pesa na mashirika tofauti tofauti. Wanakuja kusema Kajiado haina nafasi ya kuhandle na kumanage county ya Amboseli, haina capacity. Narok wana capacity kuliko Kajiado, maana wako na Mara na is the best managed national reserve in the country.
Led by Kajiado Governor Joseph Olelenku, the leaders who are addressing a public gathering in Kajiado said their named lobby group's opposition is further delaying the handover process.
This remarkable gesture is the clearest indication yet that our local communities have wholeheartedly embraced the transition of the park back to themselves. Obviously, a matter of such immense communal benefits naturally attract resistance from merchants and agents of poverty. They are among us.
Gertrude Burgay, K24 TV.
SMEs have been urged to enhance cyber resilience as criminals now leverage on artificial intelligence to carry out their attacks. Security scaling program launched in Nairobi. And
a team of cybersecurity experts convened in Nairobi to launch a training program that will see around 70 undergraduate and 30 graduate students acquire cybersecurity skills. The conversations champion for students to be included in the cybersecurity space through internships and attachments.
The key thing is the organizations that are out there that want to support the program, they need to be willing to take an intern or willing to try some of the Cyber Shuja students. And that's what we keep insisting. Try them for a year.
Small and medium enterprises was part of the conversation that saw Microsoft Africa Development Center join hands with Cyber Shuja, an entity comprising of Seriano Limited, USIU Africa, and the Bankers Association to forge ways on how to counter cybersecurity in the country. The SMEs were urged to embrace AI innovation for advanced security.
SMEs, which form the backbone of Africa's economy, are increasingly adopting digital tools, but they also remain highly susceptible to cyber attacks. Key threats identified include ransomware, social engineering, phishing, advanced persistent threats, and supply chain attacks. Notably, the finance services sector remains the most targeted, even just listening to the examples we've shared, with mobile devices emerging as the primary platform for financial fraud.
Statistics indicate that 41% of companies lack enough cybersecurity professionals. This launch has therefore been termed as timely and important for boosting cybersecurity in the country. The program is set to run for 3 months, training participants on network security, application security, cloud security, incident response, security architecture, Internet of Things, and forensics. Anthony Kwemoi, K24 TV, Nairobi.
Well, on that note, we take a very short break. More stories to come. Stay with us.
Have you watched K24? We would love to hear from you. Send us your feedback on what you like and what you don't like and why. You can use any platform to reach us. We can be reached on Facebook, SMS, Twitter, and WhatsApp.
Are you a church and seeking to reach an even bigger congregation? K24 TV and Kameme TV are offering you an